Good morning.
Hi. Okay.
Okay. Could you pass it about him? No. Thank you very much. Good morning, Rabbi. 8 years old. Oh, Herschel. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Herschel. This is how we're going to start with the morning. I can see myself being a damn like. That's just what. No, the whole Azara, not the body stone. I just whole Azara as the why. It's covered not there is no lie. No, but hopefully we're not dry. Walking in a coach like 98 too much. I'm not sure. I'm doing 2 or 5 years ago. What are your feelings? I'm fine, I don't have any alarm. Worse. Good. That's great. Figure it out. That's great. No, I mean, we're figuring it out. I'm doing it. You're done training. Okay. That's good. That's good. L'chaim, it's a wonderful morning. The Melech is besoda. We feel close to the Eibishter. We feel the Eibishter. The Shell gets close to us in a way upon him Shechikis, upon him Yofis, like the Alter Rebbe says in the Mashal. So it's a very special time. Kedai to use every moment in Elul is precious. So Hayom Kotzer v'Malachim Meruba, and let's get straight to it. The first shayla I mentioned, the Shabbos. I read an article many years ago by one of the mashgichim, for Rabbi Landau. There's a very reliable hechsher that everyone likes in Eretz Yisrael, called the Rabbi Landau hechsher, which was started by the first Rav in Bnei Brak and was now run by his grandson. So he said that they have a problem with giving it. They don't give a hechsher on maple syrup. Why? Because they said that what happened. There's a chash that the farmers are put in some tarfis in it. What? Treif. They put in tarfis. Is it chash or oh, so let me explain. I finally, when I'm in Vermont, the land of that's flowing with maple syrup. Although it doesn't have to, it's just no. The liberals are just sitting in the center of Montclair and Burlington. Those rural people ain't no liberals. Anyway, I can't tell you for sure because I try very much not to talk politics. Yes. So what's maple syrup? So it's tree sap. Oh, so finally we're going to with the kids and we're going to find out how maple syrup works. So it turns out that we have a good maple tree in our own backyard. We can make theoretically maple syrup. No, you don't need that much Rishon. I'm not going to make now that I know how hard it is to make. I'm not going to waste my time to try to make my own maple syrup. But basically maple trees. There are other trees apparently do similar, but maple trees, for consumption, it's mamish. They take in similar to the bees. They take in rain in the beginning of the winter, and it comes down tubes. The mamish, there's tubes that come down, and they store it in their roots, and it sits there all winter, especially in places where it's very, very cold in the north. So Vermont. Also in Canada, it's the same thing. Because it's very cold, so it sits there and it stews under the tree, and it gets sugary. And as soon as the winter finishes, which fortunately or unfortunately is changing because the winter is starting to finish earlier and earlier because of global warming.
That's bad for maple leaf?
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's just getting earlier and earlier. Maybe at some point there'll be no maple syrup. And it takes time for the tree to produce it. As of now, it's not bad. It's just a fact. It just some people claim that no, it's not in the same amount. I
thought the maple syrup is the sap comes out of it.
Oh, so now after like Chazal say in Chamisha also B'Shvat that the sap goes up the tree. Use it.
Of course, I
Okay, very good. So the sap comes up the tree right at the end of the winter. As soon as the winter's end, they used to do the protocol in Vermont was whatever it was the end of end of March, and now it's already this year they said at the end of January. People no, sorry, people are already harvesting at the end of January because the bottom line is because I'll say the Chamishas B'Shvat, the sap starts coming up the tree. So that was not in those times that the sap is coming up the tree, and the tree because the tree uses that sap to start putting out beautiful flowers. I mean, leaves. So the white folks who came to America, the Europeans, learned from the Indians that what you do is you drill a hole in the tree at that time. Mamish, as the in the day or two when the sap is starting to go up the tree in these tubes, and you drill a hole. They used to drill holes with wood tools, and I did mainly a tour in the Van Trapp family, whatever. It was a nice tour for an hour and a half. So I explained. I showed trees that were cut down that the holes were made in it over 100 years ago. So they had, and the old process was very difficult. Every year, because the tree heals itself, and the tree's not going to use the same tube. So if you look at an old tree that's 300-400 years old, you look at a tree that they stopped taking sap out of it 100 years ago, and you see on us of holes because that every year they have to make new holes. Every year they make a new hole, and the old way was that they used to tie a bucket around the tree, one or two or three buckets, and then the sap would come into the to the bucket. There is several times that there's several seasons that they take harvest. The earlier ones, the later ones, that sometimes they're labeled. You see amber is or you see full body that's for the end of the season, the beginning of the season. They're slightly different flavors. Me and you won't tell the difference. And most farmers anyway mix it all together and sell it. They don't label it separately. The bottom line is that then they have to cook it because the water, the sap of the tree has, depending on which part of the season it is 40% water and 1% sugar. So you have to cook out the water. Now, the original thing of the Indians was they cooked it so much until they turned it into sugar candy. Some of it is still made today. You can't buy it in the stores, but in Vermont, in some stores, you can buy the sugar candy. They're unbelievable, those sugar candies. Why am I bringing up that there is maple sugar and sugar candies? It's a negate to the bracha, and I don't think we'll have time to cover it today, but Blina will cover it. But the Indians were cooking it so much that they cooked out the water at kedei kach that it turned into candy. Basically, it's like sugar. It tastes a little like those cubes of sugar, just much better. Is it healthier? I don't know.
Sugar, how sugar can be healthy?
Really healthy. What do you mean? But the Europeans that came here, they figured why cook it so much until it turns into sugar, which is such a big avoida. Let's cook it less, and we'll cook out the water, and you have a syrup, and it's maple syrup. That's the birth of maple syrup. Nothing is added to it. They're all over Vermont. When you drive, you see sugar houses. So the fields, but today, some places they claim we still do it the old way. We go with the horses and shagas. But in most places, they make the holes in the trees, and then they have plastic tubes. Some places even have a little bit of electric. They have a pump. So typically in the bottom of the mountain, they have the sugar house. The sugar house looks like a big barn, and then it comes in and in a big plastic container is where they store all the maple syrup. It's coming from the tree. Some of them use a little bit of vacuum, so they take all these tubes and they hook it up to a vacuum. So the vacuum will take the machlokes hapoiskim. Some farmers say it's not so good, because the trees, instead of living for 350 years, they'll now live only 250 years. It's interesting machlokes. To be machri in this machlokes, you have to be around for 350 years. They're very conscious, some of them. Some of them are very, very conscious as to And one of the farmers was showing us that he's thinning the forest because there's too many trees. He says these trees will not give sap until my grandchild will be alive and will be in his 40s or 50s. But this is my job. I came here to this farm, and there was someone that took care of the forest for me, and I'm taking care of the forest for the next generation.
Sounds like
Right? Listen. The going were made. Exactly. No.
These families
But the
been on
thing
the
is,
farm for hundreds of years?
some of them have, hundreds of years. Yeah. Oh, the wise are lined up. So now we're getting to the point. When the sap goes into these big containers, they're 40% water and only 1% sugar. So after the containers, they go into these big vats and they cook them and they cook out the water. It's an unbelievably it's a tough job. Some of the places they still insist that it's better to do with firewood. It's probably also more practical for them. Some of these places because they're out there in the woods. They have to start schlepping gas, and the gas is expensive. And wood they're anyway thinning out the trees, and they have to take care of the forest anyway. You have to chop some trees. So they have wood. So they're thinning the forest. They have wood. They have to they make a fire in the heat of 1,200 or 1,300 degrees.
Pasteurized.
Yes, and there's a chokhmah how to do it, and they do it. It's unbelievable. It's in the winter, so it's nicht gefährlich. So they open up the barn doors to get wind so the fire gets bigger. So it's nicht gefährlich, that they could live. And then they cook and they cook and they cook the water until it's mostly evaporated. What happens is that at some point, sometimes, everything here is important now in this part of the story. They say that sometimes it gets a lot of froth at the end, on the top of the sugary, so it gets there's a lot of froth in the top, and then it's not liquid, and then you're going to have like froth all over the pot. That's a huge pot.
What's froth mean?
Like bubbles, foam. And the pot is like, we're talking a pot that's big, twice the size of these two tables put together. Huge pot, and it's cooking. It's a flat pot. It's a pan, like so. It spreads out, and it's cooking and cooking. And there's this big thing, the chimney taking up the water, and then you get froth. He says, but not always do you get froth. It's nagay over here. Not always do you get froth, but sometimes you get a lot of froth. And he says it depends, the beginning of the season, the end, because sometimes the beginning of the season, the sap is very clean. There's nothing in it. It's mamish you could drink it. You could, at the end of the season already, you could have bacteria in it. Sometimes you have froth and sometimes you don't. So
the froth is the bacteria?
I'm telling you what he's saying. Yeah. So what do you do? So you put in a little vegetable oil that breaks up the froth. So I ask, does it must be a vegetable? Could you use something else? So he says, well, we use vegetable oil because most growers in Vermont are part of association. And the rule today is that you have to use vegetable oil. But we all used to use tallow, lard. And also we used to have butter. We used to use butter because it's in the farm. And most of them also have a dairy farm. A lot of these places have a dairy farm. They're already on the farm. So they have the tree. So we used to use butter. But today it's not, he says it's not worthwhile because we use vegetable oil. So some of them are not worth for them anymore to put the V and the organic. He says most of us like jumped on the wagon in the beginning and we put the V's and we put the organic, and then we realized that just the sales are not going up because of it. But still, the requirement is to use according to this association, is to use only vegetable oil, not other things, because some people have issues.
And their vegetable oil is kosher.
Oh, okay. This is all part of the shaila. So this is all going to be part of the shaila. So before we answer the shaila, it turns out that this is not a shaila that started yesterday in Vermont. Yesterday, I mean,
Yesterday.
But this is a shaila that really there's Gedolei HaPoskim dealt with it. Rishonim dealt with it. Balei Tosfos dealt with it because apparently tonight we're learning a sikha about dam. That's very geschmack asicha. But apparently they used to make salt. In the process of making salt in the time of the Balei Tosfos, they would put in blood. Dam is the chosser rak chazak lebilte achol dam. And then maybe in the 19th century, so they used to use dam in order to process sugar. There's a very interesting tshuva that Tzemach Tzedek. So let's run through the tshuva Tzemach Tzedek. He also mentions the Pri Kodesh and the Pri Toyer, which bring the Tosfos. So let's read through the tshuva quickly, and then we'll get back. Look, oh, what do you mean? You deserve a dry one. Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you for a good attitude. Okay. So Shaila. Because of Tzemach Tzedek, Liididi Arav Amufleg Rabbi Kusil Zusman. Neide Yoyer Lachwitz. He was a rov in the city of Lachwitz. Shalos Shailas Chokam Advar Atzuk Shoisem Bezavad Mi Burikis. They used to make sugar. If you remember last year or 2 years ago when we were learning the Mishnah Brura, and the Mishnah Brura describes how they use sugar beets to make sugar. He said most of the sugar that we use is from sugar beets. Today, if you see most of them say from pure cane sugar, it's more kedai. The Europeans, they didn't have cane. So for them to get cane sugar, you have to ship it miktsei oilam at ktsei oilam. But beets, sugar beets, is you could grow it in your backyard. So for the Europeans back then, sugar was usually made from sugar beets. Today, everything is shipped all over the world, and so most of the sugar is today from sugar cane. By the way, talking about health, the sugar is, they say, much healthier than the sugar that's made from the corn. So it's still a better sugar.
It's more natural.
Right.
Sugar is made from corn?
No, they make a lot of right. They make the corn syrup from corn today, and a lot of the things corn syrup. Yeah.
Diabetes.
The corn syrup is a lot
It's cheaper, right? That's why the company's using it, right? Right. So there's someone here. He tells me he goes before Pesach and he buys the Coca-Cola that's kosher Pesach, because the Coca-Cola kosher Pesach has sugar. Because they have the hechsher from Rav Landa. Rav Landa doesn't want to be makel to allow to use corn syrup because it's shash kitnius. So he requires that the Coca-Cola company use sugar in order for him to give the hechsher kosher Pesach. So this guy buys Pesach. He buys cases. Probably is healthier not to drink Coca-Cola altogether.
Right.
Anyway, shailos chochem advar atzuke sheoisid bizavad mi burikes from beets. O besach samach dalad hin memoyla yoytz me burikes ma'arvim yud gimel kvar dam nevelas behemet ahoyde b'chdei lahatzl lamashka v'gam noitzim sham 50 liters ofor umartichim kol ze tez zayin shos. Wow, that was a process that took tez zayin shos 16 hours. V'achkech mistanen amashka al beged of l'achar asin nishal amayla al beged zu amarav sachrav. Titeva adam beisere techos emamshach la'atzmei kol zuama. Va'amash kenas etzlula metuka kedvash v'choizer matich noise v'koltem zuama melat sh'achkech amash kenakia hanas etzuka. Ad kan divrei hashayla b'ktsori. V'hine ena pnai goyrem laharich keis rak hanire lanis daite bikar dim v'oimer. Demeyosh l'choydish l'hachem b'zek adam hu erech terei mimeya mimoy. There's no bittul meshishim. That Tzemach Tzedek says, according to the calculation of the dam. But if name daven nice and tam lebegam im moifer monotzono la pri chodesh sof semen kufei shehech mezeg b'melach b'shem shuvas haramem mipanu shaloi laochloi be'ayin. Why? Da'af d'shom hoy adam pokas meshishim gam lachatchila v'gam nice and tam lebegam ayin sham time. So the emphasis is if you look at the reason, one of the main reasons that Pri Chodesh brings is because you couldn't make the salt for whatever reason. When they were making salt back then, they couldn't make the salt without the dam. So even though it's not giving a tam in the dam, but without the salt, without the dam, you couldn't make this process it. So it's like a dover amayim. It's like a dover amayim. So even though it could be bottled b'shishim, and it's nice and tam logam because it's maimed. The Mareme Panu was machmer, and he said the case in the Toisus where Toisus was mekel because it was not maimed because they had the dam was only part of the process, but that's why Toisus was mekel. But otherwise, Toisus would not have been mekel. Vim kein kolshkem didn't zed v'tchila like a shishim. Alpha became needle in his deity. Zoktet Tzemach Tzedek yesh lahat the loke prichodesh. I want to be matir, and not like the prichodesh that was machmer. Kol makom hainu imu beinyan shazoma nishar ala bege ikir adam. Im ken kiven shoy betchil shgam betchil lo yadam rak erech tremi mei avach kach nifred har bedam amash ke v'yoytza lechutz edei sinun. Im ken vadi yadinu shel nishma matzuker rak mashu vafkav the kaimelon on the kule bisharina and hoche kiven shebetzuker ein nirgish from tam yesh lahokel shehu ba'ofen anal shenira lain shadam yoytze harbe mazuma v'afa pekei nira sheroi lechatchila lisametz mal azvad sheyot l'rak echad hin madam v'sak samak dalad hin mishu that he tried to make that the factory should put in the dam in a way that's bottled b'shishim. But if you can't, you can rely on the fact that after they sift it. So why are they putting in blood? They put in blood to clean out the zoma, to take out the bacteria. So and later when they masanin it several times, so really the dam doesn't stay inside, very little dam. So if you could get that the chatchila they should put dam less than shishim would be even better. But if not, you can be mekel. Given the bechol tzuk, you could say emavatl isel chatchila. Tzemach Tzedek wants to be mekel. He wants to say like this. Why do we say emavatl isel chatchila? Because why being mevatl isur? Have total heter. But over here, the only way to make sugar is with the dam. And to say you're only going to buy it from a goy, so what, a Jew is not allowed to have a sugar factory? Given bechol tzuk, matil and dam v'hatzla masha. Rak, beriga yesh lema she'amarvim mat mezev neshoytzna tzukar miyariz dvash. I heard in Riga that they do it from sugar cane, so therefore they use very little dam. But all those factories that are making it from sugar beets must put a lot of dam. That to be goizer that the from people shouldn't eat sugar. It's exeirish enach tzibur yachelom lamet. The gamma dam is battle in Kenya shlema. Then shaykh loiser li yisrael afila la soisel lachatchila. Oman arvir baza soif yikna tzukah kazeh mamish v'deracheh darkei noyim ksiv. It's a very interesting truth. It's very short. He wants to be mekel to say, well, someone would say, okay, I'll buy it from a goy. But he already was mevatel. It's like a buy. But for a Jew to own such a factory, so Tzemach Tzedek wants to be mekel. V'yesh laharich baza ela b'nechitzas hapocht kasarti. I guess they paid for every paper that was sending, so it was cheaper. The post office. Or maybe it was Nechitzus HaPoch meant that the post guy was going out of Lubavitch only once a month, and he wanted to send back the tshuva, and it was 15 minutes till the mailman was leaving. He didn't want to should wait another month, so that's why he wrote it. Anyway, it's funny. What does it mean? Nechitzus HaPoch. The post office is Nechitzutz. So okay. Anyway, let's go back to our shayla. So there's a few things. There's a few things that are coming up, and maybe at another time we'll be marich a little more. But there's a few issues over here. About is the sugar being mevatel adam because there's shishim keneged adam? Could you say that if you're going to take out because you're masanin it later that helps, or maybe it doesn't help? There's an issue because it's a davar amayimit. Okay.
What does that mean?
That you couldn't make the sugar without it. You couldn't make the sugar without it.
Cheese.
Yeah, it's like the cheese that is made through. Yeah.
And if it's a davar mom, but how does that make a difference?
That afilu be'elef loy bottle.
So because it's so substantive, so
Yeah.
fresh,
Right. It cannot be mabal. Because you want it very much, right? So let's talk about here. It doesn't sound like it was from all the people I asked, and I asked several farmers. You always put no. If there's froth, if there's no froth, we don't have to put any oil. So it's not a davar amayim. It's different than the salt and the sugar. The salt was manatosis and the sugar was Tzemach Tzedek. It seems like there was not shaykh to make it without that. It was not shaykh to make it. Over here, it sounds very much that it's shaykh to make it. Sometimes there's froth, sometimes there's not. If there is froth, you have to break it up. But I don't know if it's a davar amayimid anymore. Now, this is when they were putting in butter or tallow or lard. Now they're not putting it in anymore. The din is that in general, a goy is always, oh, why would you trust a goy? Because you say that it's a chazaka that is ma'arev dover, dover. The Rambam says in Perek Tezvav in Sudas that you can say that he mixes something cheap and something expensive, not the other way around. Today, vegetable oil is cheaper than butter, and it's cheaper than lard, and cheaper than tallow. Amola wasn't that way, but it's that. This is the way it's today.
There's a pig farm, so he's throwing that anyways.
No, he's not throwing it. He's not throwing. Every drop now is they're making money on, and they're making more money on the whey than they're making on the cheese. But they're making money on everything right now, so they're not throwing it out.
Still family farms or public farms?
They mostly are family farms, and then they have these co-ops. So a lot of them are too small to sell it to the public. So they have the co-ops that come with the big trucks. They fill it up and they mix from many places, and that's most of them. When you see Vermont maple syrup, that's that. If you see a specific family, like I bought at a stand where we rented a place, Airbnb in the middle of nowhere, USA. The next guy over was doing maple syrup and corn and all kinds of good food. We were every day eating the fresh food from this farm. Huh? It's no. It is. I wouldn't say it's not Amel Shulchan Malachim, but it is. But maybe it isn't. Maybe it is. It's a good child if it's Amel Shulchan Malachim. But I would say something else. Does it go on a king's table? Does maple syrup go on a king's table? It's a good shaila because could be
pancakes. You put it there.
no one serves on a Kosher Vesuda for Sheva Brachas for Chasna. No, but they do cook and bake faket. When Sudas Malachim, they cook and bake with maple syrup a lot because it's very, very good. It's a very, very good sweetener for cooking and baking. It's a very, very it goes into a lot of things. But that's shaila. It's a good shaila because the question is, it's like the potato chip shaila. It's the $1 million shaila. Potatoes are Elul Shulchan Malachim. Potato chips are not Elul Shulchan Malachim. Maple syrup is not Elul Shulchan Malachim. But maple syrup mixed into something, so it's the same. But it's better than potato chips.
Where they get the kollel?
1 second. It's better than potato chips. You know why? Because you could really drink the sap without the guy cooking it, especially in the beginning of when most of it is harvested. That there's no bacteria in it, so it's healthy. You could go over to the tree and make a hole, and you could drink it directly from the tree, and it's 100% healthy and it's fine. Elamai, why is the guy cooking it to take out the water? But it's a roy to eat. It's 100% roy to eat. There's no problem. So I think here is even better than potato chips. Less dim, less dying. That there's not a problem with bishalaka. With the color. The color is
they make it from water. So where they
because the water goes out, and that's the natural color of yeah. And that's why the ones that are from the beginning of the season are whiter. The end is blacker. So therefore, because the chazaka that the goy, and there's another thing called mirtas. There's two things. We say that the goy is never going to mix the cheaper in the more expensive. He'll always do the more expensive and the cheaper. He wants to make money, not lose money. So that's number one. Number two, there's always the thing of mirtas. You could say mirtas is not so much over here. This association is it's not a very strong association. They're not going to close you down. It's not a legal infraction. It's, the association that's doing maple syrup decided that, streamline it for whatever reason, and people can have allergies. There's vegetable oil and gandic, and they make money off it probably because they're selling. One of the farmers asked them, "Where do you get your your vegetable oil? How do you know it's vegetable oil?" He says, "I don't know. That's what the association is selling me all these things, and they sell me the oil. And they're telling me it's vegetable oil. What do you ask me questions?"
But that's
that's mirtas. No, that's mirtas. I'm sorry. That's 100% mirtas. They get sued. They'll lose their whole business. I'm sorry. No, the question is only the farmer mirtas, because what is it? What are they going to do to him? So maybe they'll stop taking his stuff. He could sell it on a stand, and anyone will buy from him anyway. And maybe they won't even stop taking it from him. He's not going to go to jail. He's not going to lose his license. Still, there's a shtickle mirtas. He's doing business. They come with the truck. They take it out. They sell it for him. A machaya. It's done. It's done. A little bit he sells on his own. A lot of these people do both. So they have a stand and they're selling, like this guy. I bought from him apples and apples and apples and apples. So I bought, and then I said, "Oh, you have?" Oh, he says, "Yeah, sure. I already sent away my maple, but I got here a couple of bottles of maple, so I bought from him a couple of bottles of maple." So they're doing business. So why would they want to? I think it's no shiloh. Elamite, you can say vegetable oil. Where was it processed? So maybe there's a chash that was processed on machinery that's already so far away. It's vegetable oil. So maybe it was processed on machinery that also processed something that's not kosher and it wasn't. And maybe yeah, maybe not. It's very, very far away. So bottom line is that's for sure, but exactly. And you're not being mevatel isa because you bought the oil. So therefore, bottom line is number one, I don't see that this should be similar to the salt and the sugar that the person we're talking about, where it's a davar amayimid because you couldn't process it without. It seems like a lot of times they run the maple syrup, they cook it, and it doesn't froth, and they don't have to put in any oil. So why should it be minded? And now what's better is that today tallow, lard, butter is more expensive than vegetable oil. So there's no reason to think that he'd want to. You'll say, he has it. First of all, he doesn't really have it. I'm just telling you, when you go around the barns, a lot of these places, the barns are never next to the sugar houses. They're huge lines. It doesn't make sense exactly. The sugar houses are usually on a lower place because the tubes are coming down, and the barns are in higher places. That's just the Metzias. So to say he's just going to take from here to there, it just bottom line is I don't see any problem. And after this, I decided I'm just going to buy. So I bought plenty of apples and plenty of. Seems, yeah. Seems. I mean, like the Mishnah Berurah doesn't discuss that part, but he discusses the brachas part. And he seems like that was a common thing that they used to buy it. And it seems someone said that was the Metzias. So like.
Did you see the trees that they're going to sell?
Yeah.
So like they have a whole lot with only the maple trees.
Yeah.
And they have the tubes coming out of there, going downhill
to the sugar house, and then they all go into the big vat, plastic, huge, or one or two or three. After it goes into the vat, that fills up, then they open the valve and it goes into the big pot. They cook it, and then they mesanen and they bottle it right away. There's nothing. There's just they cook it. They do sinun, and then they filter it. They filter it 2-3 times, and then they bottle it. That's it.
Are you saying that you can buy it from the stand there, or are you saying you could even buy it in the store here without a?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can buy it here in the store without a.
All you damn it, all the make
So
in the store mostly.
in the store, they mostly OU anyway because OU knows. Apparently, the OU did their homework, and that's the mile of OU that they have the resources to do the homework on every product. They probably don't send out mashgichim. It's impossible to send out mashgichim. These places have hundreds and hundreds of farmers that are pooling together as a co-op, and they're putting together their thing. I could hardly imagine that the OU is sending mashgichim from farm to farm.
What do you know with all the apples you bought?
Oh, come over and taste a couple apples.
the apples in maple syrup, no?
Huh?
Maple syrup can last.
Oh, apples last for a very long time.
Yeah,
No apples. Apples.
are they cheaper than in the store?
No, not cheaper, but the problem with the store apples is that you don't know if it's a year old or 2 years old. Yeah, today they managed to, and some of the, because they have this technology where they put it in. Yeah, they do it, and but you taste it, and It's terrible, but it's very hard to figure out in the store. You have to take a few bites, and then you realize, especially the new ones that, like Honeycrisp or some of these new inventions that they made. So if they're good, they're very good, and if they're bad, they're terrible. So so if I buy it from the farm, I know it. I picked it. So
How's it when you buy in the store that you bring it home after a week, they go brown?
no, not true. Not true. If you keep it in a dark, cool place,
If it's in the bowl, I don't know.
You're talking about Orla.
huh?
You're talking about.
No, I'm talking about. He just asked me a question. Not do with Orla. He asked me. No, he asked me why I don't want to. Why I rather get the apples from the farm than from the grocery store. So I said because in the grocery store, a lot of the apples are probably a year or 2 years old, and they're not tasty.
Oh, I thought you meant.
Nothing to do with Orla. No, nothing to do with Orla. Okay, someone called me this week. He had a procedure, and now he had a catheter, and there's a shaylas. Could he put on film? Could he daven? What is he supposed to do? So when he asked the shayla, I said, wow. It's the first time someone asked me the shayla. Sometimes people don't think to ask the shayla, or they're ready in paskan and their own mind l'chumra. But there's a murder kula from the Rebbe about this. So I was excited that I got the question. The Rebbe, as you know, didn't like to paskan shaylas and halacha. That was the thing. Go to a posek and ask your shayla. Why? That was the way. The Rebbe didn't want to. He didn't want so many. He didn't want to. But the Rebbe went out of his way sometimes. The Rebbe went out of his way. Here, there's a letter. Someone asked the Rebbe shayla, and he assumed that it's also. And he asked the shayla, and the Rebbe got very upset. How are you going to tell a person who's sick in the hospital that he's not allowed to daven? He's not allowed to learn. He's not allowed to put in film because the Gemara Taka says, like if he's made a glaim shoshis and Shas made a glaim shoshis, you're not allowed to say divrei Torah, you're not allowed to say tefillah, you're not allowed to put in film. So you're telling this person that Nebuch is in the hospital that what's going to heal him. So apparently this Nudnik, I'm sorry I'm saying Nudnik, but because there's a tshuva I found in the Minchas Yitzchak years later, and he said someone asked him, he's going to the hospital, and it was an infectious disease, and the hospital had a policy when the person goes out, if he goes out alive, but that they take everything and they burn it. So could he go into the hospital with this film? So at the end he was makel. He said, I decided to be makel because someone showed me he got an answer from Harav Tzadik Kveit Kedusha Moira Milobavitch. It's Toshach of base. Interesting. And he wrote to him that it's incumbent upon us to be makel for someone's that's sick. And the Rebbe brought a raya, and Choshe Mishpat brings him. The Mishnah says that the person Shabbos was sick and he's a shchivmera, the Mechal Shabbos in order because he's anxious to settle his money issues because he wants to leave at Savoy. So he's allowed to be even Mechal Shabbos, so the person calm that he knows that they're taking care of him. Let's read.
He's a shchivmera, so you have to do everything for him.
No, not because he's going to die, because okay. Because if he's going to get anxious, he's going to die quicker. And if you're going to calm him down, he'll live longer. Masha kosav oides a heter lanal ispal v'limud. Masayim shuli lahater edehiru. Hinu menegei limud. Ef sheyesh listapik b'limud edehiru. Kimish zeh iker. Mashenke menegei l'tfila. Yesh lishtad lim tzaloi heter lispal gam bedibur. L'sader b'oifen amasem es akela mechedre v'chulu. That's bekitza. That ever means to say like this. You go into a lot of hospitals. It's just disgusting the way they treat people in hospitals. You should never be sick. Try to be healthy. Just that you don't go through the humiliation of being in a hospital. It's abhorrible. It's gefährlich. Any hospital. Like I'll give you an example, a small example. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm saying that. If you go there is. If that's for shalom, someone needs any help, they should make sure to be in the hospital where Mordechai Rivkin will take care of that, and then everything will be good.
That's a good plug.
So yeah, don't be there anyway. Just but one of the things is if a person has a catheter, a muscle, and there's a keli, there's a keli that's filling it up. A bag or keli, but you can come visit a choila. So first of all, the bag is hanging in a visible way. Why can't they have it in a way where there's a curtain? It's easier. It's easier. Huh?
Because the gravity is better to be on the side, it's better.
Underneath, yeah, but why can't they have like a curtain in front of the bed that it's covered?
Very difficult to do because of movement.
Okay.
Anywhere under his pants.
Okay, and then.
But davening is for few minutes is possible.
Oh, so that's what the Rebbe meant. The Rebbe meant that you should try to put a shtickle curtain inside of the bed. So therefore, it's covered. Okay, then let's go to the main chiddush of the Rebbe.
It's probably wearing it. It's like.
Yeah, so if you can't, he's saying you could. Yes, then it's fine. Then it's fine because the eminyoni lifsik dinim b'chol zeh satzayim bazeh kama nekudas. Number one, yesh l'tzadik she'en lazadim meiraglayim kivin shabam yosher mekis hashetan al yedei catheter v'loy me'ever v'asofik im tekim litzim ha'kulya dim meiraglayim. This is the chiddush of the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, this is not called meiraglayim. It's not called meiraglayim. Meiraglayim is when it comes out natural from the aver. If it comes out directly from the kulya, from the kidney, that's not called meiraglayim. Wait a minute, and you'll see a little more.
So this catheter, it's not attached to his aver.
No, because they put it through. They put it through the aver. No, they go through the aver. They put it through the aver, and then they attach it to the kulya. Doesn't? Yeah.
To the tube.
They go through the aver sometimes. They do it all the time.
Yeah.
Number two, v'gam meiraglayim afilu shoises hamirag derabona vein doicha deiraisa gam lo tefillah v'tefillah. He says anyway, this is a whole isur when meiraglayim is shoises only isur derabona. I could be doicha adin deiraisa tefillah. When the Shulchan Aruch said it was only talking about that. First of all, it's not talking about film, and it's talking about it was only for a few hours, and later he'll be able to daven and mashal in the tefillah. That's what the Shulchan Aruch meant, but the Shulchan Aruch was not talking about a person that's not going to daven, not going to bear tefillin. Number three, ameniyim tefillah v'talmud Torah vaday tifel chalishus adas u'memela chalishus abrius shel ha'chola. V'kam inyon mitiru matam za'ayin chosh mishpat. I'm just telling. It's like very interesting. Why did the Rebbe answer this guy's question? Because the Rebbe felt that maybe Poskim will be nice because it's simple than a Shulchan Aruch seems l'chumra, and the Rebbe felt very strongly that it's important to be makel. Next tshuva, look at the next tshuva quickly. Macha kosa dulei ein lazadim meiraglayim kimishin el kolchem adek atet v'nikita ashetten b'meila ein shoyim bekis kefi arogel al pi ateva ve'efsher oid loy nigmar echusam. So the Rebbe says, I want to explain to you. Number one, when the meiraglayim stays in the body for long enough and there's no tube pulling it out, the echus of it becomes stronger. Mashenkin, if it goes straight out of the body, it's not so concentrated. It's meiraglayim. Number two, the Rebbe says another thing. En yoitzim al yedei ha'ever kipshita sha'adin shova gam im hoya catheter hoylech mikis hashetan yosher l'chutz. The Rebbe says, what's the difference if they put the catheter through the aver or they put it straight in the body? The bottom line is, it's not going through the aver. If it's going through plastic. So what's the difference if they attached it because they made a hole in the body and they went straight to the kisa shetan, or they opened up his aver and they put through the catheter? It's the same thing. So therefore, it doesn't have a din of meiraglayim. Yesh lo v'smuchel zeh medina afochi b'machshirin. Af b'shiyotzim nekin ayim mishoyim. V'zois l'madoy, the gam delule anav. Yesh la'atek l'matzim achtav ha'koydan l'prim ha'godem. U'lepela shekoytzim sheposhet etzel l'isur. It's a pella to me that you think it's poshet l'isur. U'la'ache kosri matzosi b'sefer malamed l'hoyel. Shemate kenal am shaloi nochitz l'tayim erishim d'lo yiskire. The Rebbe says, after I wrote to you the truth, I found that there was a poisek malamed l'hoyel. He was the last big rabbiner in Berlin. He was the Rosh Beis Medrash Larabon, but he was from Talmidei Chassam Sofer. He was a Fluma Yid. I mean, he was the real deal. So the Rebbe says I found that he wrote exactly, but he didn't write my svara that doesn't have a din of meiraglayim. But I just wanted you to look at the Lashon Mishnah. The Rebbe brought a raya from Maseches Mishnah Machshirim. It's like very fun. What's the raya? The Rebbe says the raya lahepach. Ashoyse meitveria afa pisha yotzim nekiyim their tomei. The after the seven type of liquids that are makshir l'kabel tuma. What happens if a person drinks water and it goes through his body and it comes out from the other side? Nucky. Water. It comes out derech beisarei. Wow. Clean water. Clean water. We say, no, that's not water anymore. I'm sorry. That's not called water anymore. So the Bartanura says, Shematzino is a derech beisarei. Tzalulim k'moishe hoya kishachasan. Afilo achi ein machshirin. Hoil b'yotzo derech beisarei. Because it went through the beisarei. The Rebbe is saying it's mashma a little bit from the Bartanura that if you put a tube into his stomach and you took out the water clean, they would have had a din of water. If he drank the water and vomited the water, it's mashma that the water still has a din of water and it's machshir l'kabel tuma. If it went into his stomach and you put a tube and you got out the water, once it went out derech beisarei, the whole body, it went through everything and it went out derech beisarei, that's when it doesn't have a din of water. So the same thing, lagabe the meiraglaim. When does it have a din of meiraglaim? That it goes through the entire system and it goes through the avet and it goes out naturally. But if it went through the catheter, it doesn't have a din of meiraglaim. It's a big chiddush.
I think the doctors should be able to chemically analyze this and that. I think chemically analyze the same thing. What's the difference if it comes from here or if it comes from there?
Okay, so that's why the Rebbe is saying, that's why the Rebbe wanted to dance on both sides. He said, because for that you can argue what you're saying, that you could do a test and see if it's true or not. The second one from Mishnah Machshidim is something you can't argue. If you're going to say that the Bartanura was medayik, that the water, it became not water only when it goes out derech beisarei, but it mashma that if you were taking it out straight of the stomach, it would have still have the din of water. So similar, you could apply that by meiraglaim, that when does it have a din of meiraglaim, it goes out in the aver naturally and not otherwise. That's what the Rebbe wants to say.
Talking only about meiraglaim, and how about number two? You put in the room little piece and you can make number two. It's also you can
That's regular. So cover it. They're not.
It's covered, but it's
The catheter is a
What's that be in the shiloh?
because b'shas it's choices. Even if it's closed, b'shas it's choices.
Oh, I see.
It's dripping right now. Every second it's dripping. So the Rebbe says that it's not made of glime that's dripping. It's not dripping made of glime. It's not made of glime.
So you're
So that's what the Rebbe wants to. But he wants the Machadar to say it doesn't have the din made of glime. So okay. Anyway, there's a lot that could be said about this. Just read quickly the tshuva from the Malamed Lahoyel says. Shaila sheyesh lo yichol shemataftem in mayim tamid. Eich yasab b'krishim tefillah. Tshuva kotzav. Magen Avram, I'm sorry, Magen Avram Simon Ayin Sif Cotton Yudal V'mi Raglaim Shoyse and also on the Rabbanon. And it's really also on the Rabbanon. Kein Shulam Makom Sheyabutel Oil Mekrishim Tefillah Lo goes to the Rabbanon. The Rabbanon will go if he's going to miss one tefillah, but not if he's going to miss 3 days or 4 days or a year or 2 years. Kamashkosav Mishpat Zov Simon Pei Linyan Afocha. That a person that Nebach is always mafiach, that could be makel. V'afocha Koma Yosef Mei Raglaim Kamashkosav Ramah. Kim dan yesh lahat likre krishim musbal la gas kol ma kaf shlo kamashkos avram simon ein ches sheyitn svu goy beged savet evore be sefer efsem mem shmeroy fun likshe shlafuch shel behem al evore ve taft sham be zaye begod de volyanim nekim. They didn't have plastic bags, so they took a shlafuch shel behema and they tied it up to the avid in order for the meiraglaim to go in there.
So cook it like a little leather.
Yeah, a bag. Bottom line is that the Rebbe wanted to be makel. Number one, that this issue of meiraglaim shoysesim is only at the Rabbanon, and therefore you can't be mavatel. When Chazal said it was only when you're going to miss one tefillah, but now if you can chashon miss shachas min chamayda for a week and tefillah and krishma, which is derais, and the other thing that everyone wants to be makadosh doesn't have a din of meiraglaim. I think it's. But it's interesting that the Rebbe had a style that didn't want to mix into Shailas L'fi Alocha. Elamai, here the Rebbe felt that he's not. It's a shtickle, a big chidush, and you could argue. But the Rebbe felt that it's very important to be makel because the Kollel will not daven and will not be able to say Tehillim, will not put on film that will make Chalishas Adas and Chalishas Abriyas. That's why the Rebbe went out of his way to paskin. Someone asked me this week that she wants to go with her daughter to get a manicure.
Manicure.
Yeah, manicure.
Pedicure.
And it was a Rosh Chodesh. She said, "Am I allowed to go to Rosh Chodesh?" So first I thought, so why should you not be able to? Because there's a thing brought from Yehuda Chosid that on Rosh Chodesh you're not allowed to clip your nails, you're not allowed to take a haircut. And the poskim say that it's a big sakona if you go against Rabbi Yehuda Chosid. The Rabbi Yehuda Chosid wrote this because it's a sakona. So first I thought to be makel. Why would I think to be makel? Because I looked in the Alter Rebbe, read the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe writes, "Mitzvah locha farosh v'lagalech etzaparnaim b'chol erev Shabbos. Ima yisaris rosh gedolos mitzvah lagalchon. Akeloi konos Shabbos shemenuvel. Mitzvah namufcher lagalech b'erev Shabbos mamash. V'loi koydem lachen. Kedei sheyeh nika shoytzel lakavet Shabbos. V'yemein loi pnai b'erev Shabbos mach matorch Shabbos yigalech b'yem hei kol ma she'efshel lakarev agaluch. V'yem Shabbos shesh lakarev. Kedei sheyeh nika shoytzel b'shvil kvoide. V'noig v'mitzvah mekomet. Shalom l'staper b'Rosh Chodesh, afilu chol b'erev Shabbos, v'nei chashash sakonim, ki kein hidzer Rabbi Yehuda Chosid. Some places have a minhag not to take a haircut in Rosh Chodesh, even if it's erev Shabbos. It's a chashash sakonim because that's what Rabbi Yehuda Chosid said. Hey, the Alter Rebbe omitted something. He only said haircut. He didn't say about the nails. Oh, so nails are mutter. Oh, but then I looked up. There's a Sefer Shivim tomorrow. Everyone has kashas on the Rabbi Yehuda Chosid. There's so many. There's a famous kashas, and Rabbi Yehuda asks against him. You know, like some place can trash him. So we should show him such language. So Gekumen Achoshev about 150 years ago. His name was Reb Shimon Dov. He was brilliant, and he wrote a sefer Shivim Tmonim. It's a big, thick sefer. It's he was a shtickler Lubavitch Achos, not mamash. He writes in Akdama that his parents couldn't have children, so they went to Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek said, "If you give your son the name from my father-in-law, you'll have a son." So they gave him the name Shimon Dov after the Mittler Rebbe. And Taka, they had a son. So he has haskamas from the sefer Many Gdolei Yisrael. It's a very interesting sefer. You could see it's not a malak etzvonim. He was a Gon Otzum. And he goes through the entire sefer of Tzavos and Yehuda Chosid. And he goes through, and he has a lot of lomdas, and he fa'emfat ala kashis, and he shows that everything is strong according to Shas. Look, V'as Ashkenazim, we accept that Yehuda Chosid is very strong. So he goes through and he explains. So on this piece, I look up in the Shivim Tmonim. He has a beautiful shtickle Torah. Beautiful shtickle Torah. Gleich v'svara zeh glat and zeh gleich. He says that the Ramos says in Simaresh Samach in Erechaim that yesh mekom shem galchem b'Rosh Chodesh afilu chol b'yom shishi kikein tzim Rabbi Yehuda Chosid. Rabbi Yehuda Chosid never says such a thing. If you read Rabbi Yehuda Chosid, he writes lo yigalech adam arosh v'lo yazoken b'Rosh Chodesh. You're not allowed to shave your beard or your head on Rosh Chodesh. You never talk about Erev Shabbos. He says no. What the pshat is, he says, if you look in the Leket Kemach from the Knesset Gdoili, he writes that there is a shaila on Erev Shabbos. On the one hand, Shema Mitzvah Lo Yeda Dovera. On the other hand, Chamira Sakanta Miyisura. So he says, Shev Al Tasal, don't take a haircut. When Rosh Chodesh Erev Shabbos, Shev Al Tasal, don't take a haircut. It's dangerous. So frekt the Shivim tomorrow. I don't understand. So he said, that's what the Rambam meant. He didn't mean that Rabbi Yehuda Chosid said not to take a haircut. He only said don't take a haircut on Rosh Chodesh. But Rosh Chodesh said of Shabbos, he didn't say. But the reason he said not to take the haircut is because it's a sakona. So what's the difference? If it's a sakona, it's a sakona. Shema mitzvah lo yeda dovara, but it's a serious sakona. So he says, hey, wait a minute. Let's talk about this. And Siman Eshvav, it says if you make shakali with vore and then someone runs it out. In the next house, someone died. The din is you're supposed to pour out all the water. So, because the Malach HaMovis, he washes his dishes.
Oh,
It's a bia bracha levatala. Drink the water because Shema mitzvah lo yeda dovara. Also, Maim Shalonu, someone died in the Shchuna. Use the Maim Shalonu, Shema mitzvah lo yeda dovara. So why over here with Machmir and we don't say Shema mitzvah lo yeda dovara and we tell the person not to take a haircut? So he says, I'll tell you what the answer is. The answer is simple. Do you take a haircut every Friday? No, most people don't take a haircut every Friday. There are people that have a minhag to cut their nails every Erev Shabbos, L'Kovet Shabbos. A lot of people have that minhag. But there's very few people that have a minhag to go to the barber every Erev Shabbos. What are you going to cut? There's nothing to cut. Every Erev Shabbos, you're going to go to the barber. How can you go to the barber every Erev Shabbos? So he says, so listen, he says, very simple. If you're talking about cutting here, so why do you say Shema mitzvah lo yeda davara? Which mitzvah are you doing? Kavod Shabbos? By taking a haircut today, you're not doing so much Kavod Shabbos because most people are not walking at this. You don't see lines at the barber shop every Erev Shabbos. The same guys are coming. So if he's not taking a haircut on Friday, you don't see so much Azilzal and Shabbos, and if he is taking, you don't see so much Kavod Shabbos. So therefore, Bashenkin cutting nails, those people that cut nails every Erev Shabbos, they're not going to cut nails. It's Azilzal and Shabbos. Fakir, there are poiskim that say even Cholamoyed, those that are cutting every Erev Shabbos, even Cholamoyed, even though we don't follow that Lapoil, but there is such a svara. So therefore, really, we say Shema mitzvahs lo yeda davara. And therefore, he says, you could say like this, that Erev Shabbos, that's Rosh Chodesh, don't take a haircut, but cut your nails. And perhaps this is meduyuk now in the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe says, look at the last line. Noigim b'mitzvahs mekoyim shaloi listaper, b'Rosh Chodesh afil achol b'Erev Shabbos, nei shash sakona. Yikein hizer Rabbi Yehuda Chosed. Alter Rebbe is saying, why? Rabbi Yehuda Chosed only said Rosh Chodesh. But why am I saying also on Friday? Because of Shash Sakona. But the Alter Rebbe said only Lagabe haircut, not Lagabe cutting your nails. Why? Because Shema Mitzvah Lo Yeda Davara. And he's talking about Hilchas Shabbos. But if it's on a Wednesday, what's the difference? But Yehuda Chosed said it's dangerous. So if you don't cut your hair, you're not allowed to cut your nails. So the Alter Rebbe brought only not cutting the hair, because he's talking about Erev Shabbos. So Erev Shabbos, don't cut your hair, but cut your nails. Because Shema Mitzvah Lo Yeda Davara, Mashenk in a haircut. You could say the Svara the Shivim tomorrow. But on a Wednesday, for us Ashkenazim who accepted Rabbi Yehuda Chosed, Sfardim is different. But Ashkenazim accepted Rabbi Yehuda Chosed very, very seriously. Chamira Sakanta Misura. So Elamaish, so she said, I'm not planning to cut my nails. I'm only planning to file, to paint it, to make it nice. So I said, okay, that's different. Because cutting the nails. No, Wednesday. L'chaved Wednesday. L'chaved that she likes to have red nail polish. But the reason, the union of taking nails is that the clipper doesn't like when you cut your nails because they get energy from the nails. So could be Rabbi Yehuda Chosed had like this thing that on Rosh Chodesh, you don't start up with the clippers on Rosh Chodesh. For whatever reason, Rosh Chodesh, you don't make a fight with them. Monday, you make a fight with them, not on Rosh Chodesh. But you say it's a Milchama, you have to fight with the clipper. But Rosh Chodesh, you don't get busy with fighting with the clippers. But if you're going to file it and put nice things, forget the clippers are very happy. The clippers are very happy. It's not a problem. The clippers don't have a problem with that. So I said to cut the nails, taka is also chamira sakanta, and you're Ashkenazi and you're Makabel and Yehuda Chosed, so you're not allowed to. Just like not like a haircut, not allowed to cut your nails. In fact, Alter Rebbe doesn't talk about it. It's something else because it's Friday. On Friday, you don't cut your hair, but you cut your nails. But on Wednesday, not allowed to cut your hair, not allowed to cut your nails. But if you want to just file it and make it nice, the clippers will be very happy. Don't worry. Go. That's for sure. It's not to say for sure Jewish women should file their nails very nicely and the Kavod Shabbos. Kavod Shabbos, the little kids come. My wife, Kavod Shabbos, Friday, she'll they make for them their nails, paint their nails. Little girls, they love it. It's very
My
nice.
wife called after Friday to fix their nail for Shabbat.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm saying, this Indian, he said, is only cutting the nails, but not anything else, not filing it, not painting it. Okay. Hatzlocha, we should have hatzlocha week. We should be matzliach, gesetz ala malchama, should get rid of the klippus, and should get rid of taka, all the enemies of the Jewish people.
Come tonight to the shiur, they have children and kolkats.
At noon is the Levaya of the Skolana Rebbe. At noon.
Time.
And the roads in Borough Park are already closed. The roads.
Oh, you're benching? Yeah, okay, fine.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Good. Preschool.